Hey guys, what's up? It's Pointer Buller, welcoming you to a little analysis slash discussion video of the Nintendo Switch 2 first look trailer that just dropped earlier today. If you haven't seen my live reaction, you can go do that. I was, a bit mellow, especially because I was at work, but I do like the look of the console and what we've seen so far, but I do want to go over everything that we saw in this first look. So again, I'm kind of just going off the hook and everything when it comes to what actually we all see, and I'm going to try and go in order of the trailer as much as possible here. So to start out, we end up seeing that the console, of course, is going to be larger. Same with the Joy-Cons to fit the actual console. It's not going to be too surprising if they're going to be trying to pack more stuff in here, like more power, processing, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to need a bigger console. And the one thing that most people will notice is that there is a brand new C port on the very top of the console. That makes it a whole lot more convenient to go ahead and take it out of the dock and actually still play it in handheld. Again, this is only a problem if you really like played in handheld mode more than probably docked mode, but it was definitely a thing that existed, and having two ports is just, it's good. It's only good. The next thing that we're pretty much shown off is that it has a completely revamped kickstand. As a person who used the original Switch, I never got to experience the OLED kickstand to really know how much better it was. I can only assume it was better because the original Switch's kickstand was a little dinky. Like, it did the job, but it definitely wasn't anything like premium or whatever. And I know that the OLED pretty much got that upgrade, but it's good to see that we've at least kind of brought it back here, especially since, I guess they thought or had enough people say, hey, that this was actually a good design decision. So the next thing we have to go over are the new Joy-Cons. So at first, again, pretty unassuming. They have like this grayish black finish. They're probably not like pure black or anything like that, but definitely more reminiscent of the original Joy-Cons. But then they have the colored flourishes on them, which is very nice. But one thing that basically everybody has been talking about in leaks and stuff is that there is an additional button on the right Joy-Con just below where the home button would be, and it actually isn't labeled at all. In most of the leaks that we've seen, this has been referred to as the C button. To what it actually does, we have no idea. And that's also not shown off here, so I don't know if this is something that they are intentionally still leaving up in the air. This is going to be like an extra feature that's really going to sell the Switch 2. We're just going to have to wait and see. When they do the spin around and then show the color flourishes, we actually see that the connector for the Joy-Con is much more raised than the original, but this is because these Joy-Cons are now magnetic. They do not specifically slide into the Switch anymore, they more so snap on the side. Something you might have noticed if you were a regular Switch player, the Joy-Cons don't look to have IR sensors. This is something that I know was very underutilized on the Switch, so this is something that they probably just cut, and I don't really see a problem with that. However, the thing is that this was kind of important for some games that were very early on in the Switch's life, so it's going to be interesting to see how and if those games carry over. And so the last thing that we also did hear in the leaks, probably about like a couple weeks ago, was that the Joy-Cons actually had some sort of mouse functionality. So you'll see a divot just beneath the kind of shoulder buttons. That's not the reset button, it's something else entirely. It does look like there's a lens that kind of looks like a trackpad, so this could mean that the Switch 2's Joy-Cons will have a mouse functionality, which is just so crazy. I don't want to say this is a new concept, but this is definitely up Nintendo's alley when it comes to innovating their consoles, and there really isn't something like this for the other consoles on the market, so this puts it apart pretty significantly. Moving on, they then show the new Joy-Con straps, which are pretty tame. I mean, they weren't going to be anything special. They're really just meant to round out the Joy-Con, make them more comfortable for play when they're not inside the grip. One of the more interesting things to me though, and this is purely speculation, is that the Joy-Cons are moving when they are on or connected to the straps. I kind of wonder if the straps are meant to be used with like almost a wheel on the bottom, so that way it has a little bit more movement like an actual mouse. I'm not really sure. Now, we don't see anything about the bottom or like what would be the upper end of that Joy-Con strap. So again, this is something that's complete speculation on my part. That'll be really unique for new experiences on the Switch, whether that's, making completely new games for, or even if they just add integration to some games like Mario Maker 2 or to Splatoon, whether that be 3 or a brand new game. So in the very final piece of it, everything comes together. We see the extra finishes for the color on the inside of the connectors, and we see that the Joy-Cons snap into place magnetically as opposed to slide down on the rail like the original Switch. Now, the big thing I think everybody was really waiting for, because we had gotten all these leaks, for most of us Nintendo fans who have been just keeping up with things, we almost knew probably like 90% of this ahead of time, but getting a glimpse at the brand new Mario Kart is something that we definitely do not take for granted, and it looks great. Just going through it quickly, the track that they're racing on is called Mario Bros. Circuit. The characters are racing in karts and bikes, so I'm assuming that all of these are coming back. There are some weird kart designs that kind of look like they could be something else, but honestly, I think they're kind of going to just keep it as simple as that. I think something that a lot of people also noticed when they were watching the trailer is that the characters are much more cartoony. They seem to kind of have much more rounded proportions, be a little bit smaller in general. But one of the big things is that DK actually looks completely different than how he basically looks nowadays. The way this is looking, this is almost going to like return to the SNES Mario Kart kind of look. You know, everybody hunched up in their cart. People were saying N64, but I do feel like this is probably closer to the original SNES design of DK, even though DK wasn't really properly in that game, but you know, I digress. The final thing I want to mention before trying to identify the characters is that the final stretch of the track looks extremely long. Like, I can't identify where the turn actually continues to in the kind of horizon point that they gave us right at the end of the trailer. So I'm wondering if this is a tease for either like new track ideas where either they're just much longer, or we get more tracks that are just a single point A to point B as opposed to being, you know, a circle, just like most of the Mario Kart tracks. They really only started doing that in Mario Kart 7, a little bit more in 8, and heck, we may be getting another one of those here. So just some exciting stuff to see. Now, of course, for characters, there are a lot that are up front and center, and I'll still go over those, but I do want to try and show off the ones that seemed like kind of hidden in the background. Of course, we've got Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Daisy, Rosalina, Waluigi, Baby Mario, Pauline, Koopa, Wario, Baby Luigi, Toadette, Baby Daisy, Baby Rosalina, King Boo, Shy Guy, Birdo, and Bowser Jr. Since this is sort of a discussion video, I would love for people to talk about some of the other stuff in the trailer you might have noticed, whether that be characters or just very unique instances that might actually lead to what might be the gimmick of the game. From it being the super early footage, I don't know if Nintendo means to give any of that away, but honestly, it's going to be great just to kind of speculate on what all this is until we get our really good first look at the game. So now, kind of rounding things out, we have the OG Switch and Switch 2 compatibility, and it does have an asterisk saying that not all games will be compatible or will have functionality with the Switch 2. I was a little worried about this, but thinking about it more, this probably is going to be more in reference to games that use the IR sensor and other kind of peripherals that were created for the Nintendo Switch, like Labo, which I know for a lot of people is kind of not even in their like consideration. But without the use of the IR sensor, some of that kind of goes out the window. And I think even games like 1-2 Switch, you know, games that were pretty much made with the IR sensor in mind, they do lose some functionality, so that is worth mentioning. I do think that the list of the games that will be outside of the Switch's umbrella going to Switch 2 will be pretty small, but yeah, I think it'll just be these really niche games where they need to have a specific functionality of the Switch that may not be carrying over. Then we get the date of when the Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2 showcase will be, and it will be on April 2nd, 2025. That's going to be a long wait, at least for me. I'm very excited for this new console. I've been waiting for not necessarily a brand new Switch, but just some sort of successor to the Switch, something more powerful, something that can play a lot of the really big games that they have, just, you know, better frame rates, all of this kind of stuff. Because, I mean, it never ruins the games, but you also want to try and play them when they're at their best, right? Right. So the final thing that they show off, which is really just a footnote, is that there will be hands-on events with the Nintendo Switch 2 called literally the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience, and you have to go to the website to find these. I will be going over the website a teensy bit, but I don't want to make it like another 10 minutes of this video or whatever, especially because there isn't too much more news to necessarily piece together. So as for the Nintendo Switch 2 experience, it is listed that they will have events at New York on 4/4 to 4/6, Los Angeles 4/11 to 4/13, and Dallas from 4/25 to 4/27. Part of that makes me a little optimistic, because if they do have the console ready that early, so soon after the actual direct, what that could mean is we actually could get the Switch 2 release in the summer, as opposed to somewhere closer to the holiday. I mean, either way, Nintendo's gonna do what Nintendo's gonna do, and we still have a bunch of games lined up for the Switch before the actual, you know, kind of phasing out of it. But yeah, I would love to go to one of these Nintendo Switch 2 experiences, but not one near me personally. But that's everything I can go over that's really concrete. As for just general thoughts on the console, I think it looks great. I think that the color flourishes really do a lot and keep it from looking, I don't want to say bland, but just a little too simple. Because the Nintendo Switch's original Joy-Cons, the gray ones, it really was just a gray and black combo. And while that was really great at the time, and of course, you know, you also had the blue and red Joy-Cons that most people probably know for the Switch, this I think is kind of more thoughtful in its design. And I definitely think that down the line we are going to be seeing alternatives for Switch 2 Joy-Cons, whether that be special editions or literally just getting different colors, you know, getting blue and yellow Joy-Cons or getting purple and green Joy-Cons, things like that, because we definitely see a lot of those in the regular Switch generation. Again, as for the hardware itself, I really don't have any worries with anything that they've shown so far. I can't really say anything on whether or not there's going to be stick drift. I hope that all the dev time that they've had with the console has kind of ironed those issues out. And as for the magnets, I think that I'm pretty confident with how they are. Because that they are so indented into the console, I don't think that dropping it inherently would like let them slip out, even though there's not necessarily a rail keeping it in place like with the original. But we really don't know any of this until we have hands-on. I'm sure that there will be a bunch of people covering this at the actual events once that happens. So again, once we hit April, that is when the floodgates will completely open for the Nintendo Switch 2. So I highly recommend that you kind of keep up with gaming outlets and everything else. But of course, I will still be doing my part and trying to cover as much as that I can, because I am just so excited for this console, all the games that'll be coming out for it, and you know, whatever else they have in store for us that we still don't know about yet. So in any case, thank you guys so very much for watching. Hopefully you're having a fantastic night or day wherever you may be, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!